Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, part Nioh 3, part Sekiro, and absolutely a Team Ninja game. Is this counter-focused, Souls-like action game worth checking out? Let's find out. Wo Long Fallen Dynasty is a third-person action game with some Souls-like elements that has combat that relies on both aggression and smart parries to create a visceral and satisfying experience. The story takes place in China during the Three Kingdoms, with your character starting as a basic foot soldier and eventually interacting with all sorts of famous historical figures as you fight off the baddies. Those familiar with Nioh and how Team Ninja blended actual history with some demon mystical stuff will be pleased to know the story is still absolute nonsense here that takes its goofy premise way too seriously, which I find incredibly entertaining. But the story isn't why you're here, it is the combat, and again referencing Nioh, fans of that game will find a lot here that is very familiar. The game is broken up into various missions across each chapter, with these usually being mid-sized, mostly linear affairs, often with mid-level bosses and small side routes for secrets. A big change here is morale, a number that rises as you kill enemies and falls off if you die, and where it bottoms out depends on how many bonfires / flags you've placed. Enemies also have morale, and the damage you take or deal depends on the difference between your two numbers, so keeping it high makes the game a bit easier. Combat itself feels a lot like Nioh, but with some meaningful tweaks. The first is the spirit meter, as you no longer have stamina and instead are engaging in an ever-present tug-of-war with your spirit. Hitting enemies or successfully parrying raises your spirit into the blue, while getting hit or guarding drops it. You also unlock magical abilities as you level, as well as have weapons that are equipped with special martial arts moves, and doing these eat spirit also. Should your spirit bottom out, you'll be staggered for a moment, while maxing it will let you burn it all in the big chunky move. The trick here is enemies also have spirit meters, particularly bosses, so whacking enemies until they stagger allows you to land a critical hit. But hitting them isn't the best way to drop their spirit, it's parrying. As far as I could tell, every single move in the game can be parried should you have the right timing using the parry button, and this always completely negates damage, as well as granting you spirit and draining the enemies. Enemies have two kinds of attacks, normal baby ones and big chunky red ones that you can't block, but parrying them will deal them massive spirit damage, which is crucial to killing harder enemies and bosses. And yeah, there's a lot more to Wo Long. There's light stealth, there's a ton of loot and a loot crafting system, but we gotta keep this review short, so suffice to say, Wo Long is a high aggression action game with an underlying loot system where you'll need to get good at parrying or else you're gonna die. What did I like about Wo Long? Well, the combat feels incredible, blending the best parts of Nioh, Ninja Gaiden, and Sekiro, with plenty of parrying, stealth, and aggression, leading to a fun and engaging high skill ceiling. And speaking of parrying, it is an exceptional system, with it being both surprisingly lenient, allowing you to come to grips with it, yet expecting a lot out of you as the game progresses to keep the challenge high. And lastly, I really enjoy this game's loot system. I know some find it overwhelming, but the smart changes from Nioh make it easier than ever to assemble your perfect weapon, and the diverse armors and gears make experimentation fun. When it comes to the bad, there are a lot of systems that you have to come to terms with here very quickly. And while it's not nearly as many as, say, Nioh 2 and its stance changes, those new to Team Ninja's Souls-like games will probably find this very overwhelming. Additionally, I found that difficulty fluctuations all over the place, and it is very inconsistent. For instance, the tutorial boss is harder than the next several, and some missions randomly seem to inflate enemy health and damage, which led to me having to grind a bit. And lastly, this game has some serious technical performance problems on everything but current gen systems. PC and older consoles have some serious problems. Series S is okay, but not great. And this is all for a game that graphically isn't exactly pushing any technical boundaries. As you know, our games here on a 3-point scale, must play, maybe consider, don't bother. And I have to say, if you have a last gen system or a PC, you should probably hold off until they patch it. But once they do, or if you own a PS5 or a Series console, Wo Long is absolutely worth checking out. It fuses some of the best parts of Team Ninja's previous action games with a more aggressive, parry-based combat system that works incredibly well. While it may not surpass Nioh, it's still worth playing if you're into a fun, exhilarating challenge. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Wo Long or any of the Nioh games, I'm a big fan of Team Ninja Souls-likes, but I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments, and regardless, go out there and check out Wo Long.